Alright, so there's a Pokemon called Stactus in the Generation 1 prototype, one of the Pokemon we've known about for a while. So I've been leading myself to believe that while Stactus wasn't necessarily in Generation 1, it didn't make it in the final release. There's some people that think it might have actually been Cacnea from Gen 2 or Gen 3. Because what's really interesting is it's a cactus Pokemon, obviously. But it's a Pokemon that, if you really think about it, Gen 3 had a desert, because you can go catch Regirock in the what's that place called? The desert, the one area. I'm trying to think what the heck its name, the cave was called, its little tomb. But anyways, that's where you would catch, Regirock would sleep in there. But what's really interesting, though, is I always found it fascinating that, they could have put Cacnea, or not Cacnea, Stactus in Gen 2, because in Gen 2's prototype there was actually supposed to be a snowy and a actual a desert location in the prototype. I believe they scrapped this at the time, and it was nowhere to be found in Gen 2, though. The areas were a tad bit different and all that. So it would kind of make sense that that's why they decided to move it to the Hoenn region instead, because it made sense. Where do you find a cactus for the most part? Out in the middle of a desert, right? Most of the time you can find them anywhere else. So it made sense that they decided, hey, you know what, maybe we'll take this idea and move it on to something else later on. So there we go. So they probably wanted to do it in Gen 2, but then they're like, hey, we'll just save it for a little later. And then they decided to do something with it. And not only that, I'm not surprised in the slightest that they decided to change Cacnea's design, because if you actually look at its face, it kind of looks like, I'm trying to think of what the heck the Pokemon that Cacnea evolves into, or it's the one that it's the big cactus that looks like it's like got a cowboy hat on. And then they say what do? They follow you around in the desert along with a couple other ones, and they just kill. They beat down, like Guzma would say, they beat down the individual, and then and then when they try to get back up, he beats them down again. It's the continuous beat down. I don't know. It kind of reminds me of that, but it's what is it? Gen 2, Gen 3. Yeah, you're out in the middle of the deserts, and you have to, aside from the sandstorms and all that. Cacnea was a grass and a ground type, but then once it evolved, it was a grass and a dark type. I have to double check. So I wouldn't be surprised in the slightest. Yeah, I don't know. Is it a grass and a dark type? I'd have to double check. But I know Stanley. I don't know if you remember the Elite Four, the very first trainer in the Elite Four, the one that had that wicked hair design. Stanley actually used a Cacnea, or a oh crap, what the hell is the thing called? I always forget. But yeah, it's interesting though to think that if you look at its face, it's and look at it, kind of looks similar but a little bit different though. So I wouldn't be surprised they redesigned it for all intents and purposes. I know for a fact, if you remember playing like Pokemon Mystery Dungeons, the very first ones, Cacnea could be found, as well as the Cactus Pokemon could also be found. The one it evolves into could also be found in, I think it was in the Great Canyon, what was it called? The canyon part, the one where you go and find Xatu. And very interesting indeed. So that's actually pretty interesting. Even Xatu was Natu, before it evolved into Xatu, there was supposed to be an evolution for a third evolution for them both. That was scrapped entirely out of Gen 2. Because here's the thing, the Space World demo actually had 3 variations of it. There was the 1997, the 1998, and then the 1999 version. And then finally the final version of the games. And you really can kind of see what they were doing with Pokemon at that time. It was really interesting how many different ideas they changed, and what they overall, like, how many ideas were moved around and which ones were reworked into something else. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't put it past me that, you know, that they eventually decided to, because all the regions of Japan, up until Gen 4 at least, they were all based on areas in Japan. So all these ideas that they were supposed to be like throughout the Japanese region, I wouldn't be surprised that, you know, they just moved them around, but it's still, they were able to find them in that area of Japan. You know, it felt like in the Hoenn region. I'm trying to think where Johto, Kanto, and the Sinnoh and the Hoenn region take place, but you know, how much further away is the Hoenn region compared to the Kanto region, Kanto and Johto? Because Johto is to the left, and then the Kanto's to the right, and then it's like, what is it, like the Hoenn region's like somewhere to the north a little bit, and then the Sinnoh region's just a little bit over somewhere to the Hoenn region. Like they're really close to each other, but they're also still different regions that you have to be careful of before you even go to those areas. So it does make me wonder though a lot what they did with those Pokemon, because if you really think about it, over time, I mean, a lot of the Pokemon, they might have been reworked into something else, and at the same time though, they were also Pokemon that could have had the similarities, like the moves they would have learned, the type advantages they would have had, and even what they were able to do with the move pools that they had, like the level ups and all that. They probably would have had the same EXP categories, and it also probably wouldn't have made that much of a difference anyways. I honestly do think that Cacnea actually would have been in Gen 3, because it just made sense, because that was really the next time that Nintendo really did include like a desert location out of all the Pokemon games. Again, if it wasn't Gen 2, it would have been Gen 3, and that makes a lot more sense when you really think about it from the standpoint position where what they did, how much they invested into it, and what we got out of it instead. So yeah, again, if you like this video, again, subscribe. If you want to comment, please do. If you have any requests, let me know. But until then, I will make more videos talking about it. We're almost to 1,000 subscribers, so that's actually pretty cool. I hope to just keep making videos for these kind of things, because I just find it interesting. Pokemon is a series that, once again, has like so much to offer, and yet there's so many people out there that might not even know like what's even in the series that we still don't even know about, which really blows my mind. That, you know, it really gets you thinking.